This episode is brought to you by Trailer Park Yard Games, where over 28 games are delivered directly to your party. We park the trailer, you party.
Would ya? I'm cool.
Recognize you like all over the place?
No.
Only in Florida and only in one store.
Yeah, that specific store. My kids.
Mine was always like, oh, you're Sarah because I recognize you from your forehead. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all heard Tom overly laughing. Don't laugh so loud.
Meet my eyeline, Jim.
Okay, sorry, Jaisy.
The one that I had is actually my husband.
Let's have a chat, talk this and that with BB and Jaisy.
Hey, and happy Wednesday. This is Sarah Paget, and I have
Jaisy George.
and
Bill Stedham.
And today we have Miss Jenn, and we'll talk to Jenn here in just a second. But I wanted to start off because we're going to talk about drinking. And
I like the way you say that, drink.
well, we won't tell you what's in Bill's coffee cup, but I'm drinking water today. But I wanted to talk about just a little bit of my story and how I grew up, just to give you some context. I grew up in a house where alcohol was not allowed in. It could be on the premises, but not in the house, which I don't understand that. But my older brother lived with us. He could drink in the garage.
I like how you just say, my older brother lived with us.
He did. Well, no, he was like 27. It was past the time a brother should be living with you. But anyway, he could drink in the garage, but he couldn't bring it into the house. And I saw my dad drink maybe 3 or 4 times at Polito's in Arlington. He'd get his little schooner of beer. And then the first time my mom drank in front of me, I was 17. She had like some fruity drink at Applebee's, and she cried the entire night. She stayed up that whole night crying because she drank in front of her baby. So that is kind of my take on alcohol. It was never around. It was never, but I made up for lost time pretty quickly, just to say. So yeah, that was kind of where I came from. I don't know how y'all were.
Mine's pretty similar. I mean, well, I never saw my parents drink. We never had like alcohol in the house at all. It was very not to say that it is unchristian like to drink or anything like that, but we were very like Pentecostal, like you don't drink, like that's not something that you do.
You get your energy from the lower.
Yeah, but my parents actually were pretty cool about it. But it wasn't until I was like probably in college that every once in a while, like if we went out, my dad would be like, okay, I'll get a margarita or something like that, But because my parents never drank, like my dad didn't know how to like pace himself. So like with a margarita, it would be very sweet. So he didn't realize that it had alcohol in it. So he would just down the whole thing and then just be like all loopy. So that's fun too.
Well, and Jenn, I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and what company that you're representing or network that you're representing today. And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Jenn Kautsch, just like you sit on. I always say that.
Awesome. I was going to ask you that. That's
how to pronounce
That's
that.
why I called you Jenn.
Couch, just like you sit on. And thank you all. Thank y'all for having me. This is going to be a great conversation. So I started a network called SoberSis, and it's really short for sober-minded sisters, because I really found myself really in my 30s and certainly in my 40s, early 40s, mid 40s, really just struggling in that gray area drinking zone. And that was a word I'd never even heard of before, gray area drinking. I thought, hey, you've either got a really normal, like no big deal relationship with alcohol, or you're a full-blown alcoholic, blackout drunk, can't drink at all. And I wasn't either one of those. I was just somewhere in the middle. I felt that it was becoming a habit, like a routine, where it was wine o'clock, 5 o'clock. And so that's what I wanted to do, was get out of that rut, get off of autopilot. And now that's what I hope other women do, is do the same.
And that's what I've done with food. It's like, are you hungry? It's like, I don't know. Is it 12 or 5? Like, yeah, of course I'm hungry. So Bill saw the gray area drinking and he was offended at first because he saw gray. And he didn't know what that meant.
I wasn't sure if that meant old people or what, but you're not old, so it couldn't be that.
So did she answer your question on gray area drinking?
I think she did. So kind of in between, not too far, not too little, but just where it became a habit where you had to have it every day, but you weren't addicted to it, but you still had to have it.
Right. Was there something that made you realize that, or were you just having wine o'clock one day and you were like, I do this every day? Like, why do I? What happened to kind of spur that thought?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what's so amazing about gray area drinking is a lot of times nothing happens. There was no big event or catalyst that happened to me. It was more what was going on inside of me. It was the mental tug of war that I was feeling day in, day out of, am I going to drink tonight? Am I not going to drink tonight? Do I need to drink every time I go to a happy hour? Do I need to drink every time I go on a date night with my husband? Every time I'm on a patio? What if I want to do something different? I don't even know how, because that's so socially acceptable to drink. And so for me, it was a lot of the mental tug of war that was exhausting. And so I had been trying to change the habit, but then when the habit came, just like sugar or other cravings, the cravings were so strong, the habit was so entrenched. I found myself sometimes drinking when I didn't even really want to. It was just what I did.
So you kind of figured out your path, and at what point did you say, hey, there's something missing that I need to give to others?
Yes. I was about 8 months into my own personal journey, my discovery journey of where alcohol fit into my life. And I discovered after just taking a break from drinking, my goal was just to take 6 weeks off. But I've done that many times. I've done all the Whole30 challenges, right. And I have not done 75 hard. I know Sarah has. Y'all probably all have.
No, they have not.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's next on our list.
I have no desire to do 75 hard.
It looks hard.
As a one, I'm really glad that you brought that up to them.
To let them know.
Have not done that. Yeah. Okay,
yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I could do 75 hard, but the hardest thing for me with things like that would have been the alcohol in the past.
For sure.
But I could have done it, but I would have white-knuckled it and just like grit and grinded it out. But what I discovered in taking a break with more of an approach of learning and curiosity instead of just trying to quit and like behavior modify and just grit it out was more like, I just want to learn. I want to learn about me, my relationship with drinking itself, alcohol as a substance. Like, let's look into it instead of trying to just run away from it. It's always going to be there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So instead of trying to push alcohol away and ignore it and just be better, do better, kind of be good, I actually brought it in and I really stared it down in the face and said, let's talk alcohol. Let's look you down. Mm-hmm. And in doing so, I really learned a lot about just my mind, my body, my spirit. And in doing so, that's really where I found a lot of freedom. So after that first goal of 6 weeks, that's 42 days, 1,000 hours of not drinking, I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to keep on keeping on. I feel really good. My sleep's starting to get better. I'm feeling more energy. I've got more clarity of mind. That fog is gone. The bandwidth that I was spending, the mental tug of war on constantly negotiating, moderating. Am I going to have one? Am I going to have two?
The decision fatigue.
All of the decision fatigue was wearing me down. So to have that gone, all of a sudden I had all this time and all this mental space. So I wanted to keep that going. So I set another goal, 100 days. And I went 100 days without drinking. And again, I was a social drinker. I was a gray area drinker. I could drink anytime I wanted. I could drink what I wanted when I wanted. I was making this choice on my own. After 100 days, you can imagine what went on. I felt better, right? Even better. So I kept on going. And before I knew it, I hit that 6-month mark, went through the holidays, and that's when I kind of realized, wait a minute, I'm not just surviving not drinking. I'm actually thriving in not drinking. And I love it.
What changed in your social situations? Because we talked a little bit before about how, like, I don't drink. I know, Sarah, you've been abstaining from drinking and stuff like that. So it's like, it's kind of awkward, not awkward, but it gets weird sometimes in social situations because people will be like, wait, you don't drink? Like, what's wrong with, do you have a problem? Is it a religious thing? Like, is it this? Is it that? Are you addicted?
There's this awesome TikTok and it's like, how come everyone is so, so weird about not drinking? It's like, if I say I don't want mayonnaise, they say, are you addicted to mayonnaise?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's so true.
Yeah. So like, how did things shift? Because I'm sure people saw as like, oh yeah, Jen really likes, a mojito at dinner. And when you're like, no, actually I want this, they're like, wait, what? Like what shifted there?
It was a huge shift because my whole friendship group, my whole social network, everybody drinks. My husband drinks. My husband still drinks. Everyone around me was a drinker. Because also drinkers tend to hang out with drinkers because that's an activity. That's kind of what you do. And so it was a big change. And I just never did big words like, I'm never drinking again. I always just said, I'm taking a break, or I'm good tonight, or I think I'm just, I've got a big morning. I'm I'm doing other things. And so I had to practice that. That did not come naturally because it did feel awkward at first. But I kept practicing, kind of building my muscle to just own my own story.
To be assertive about it.
And what
like,
was working for me.
Yeah.
And it was like, I had a really big why. My why was because I wanted to be wholehearted. I wanted to be in alignment with myself, because there's nothing worse than walking around in conflict with yourself. And so my why was because I wanted to be more present in my own life. I was tired of the tug of war, the hangovers, the increase in anxiety. All those things were keeping me going at the happy hours when everyone was drinking. I thought, no, I've got something different that I'm going for. So I just kept playing the movie forward.
So tell us a little bit about SoberSis. And so you've talked about this network of women that you've, it's kind of your child, right?
It is.
How long have y'all been in business? And tell us what it is in general.
Yeah. So I started SoberSis really in February of 2018. How did I start it? Well, here I was, a stay-at-home mom about to become a new empty nester. And I was wondering really what God would have for me next. I really didn't know my next step. I've always been an entrepreneur. And always owned my own business or worked in a networking kind of business. So my husband also is a partner of mine in life and in everything that I do. And he said, Jenn, I think you've got something here that's really cool to share. I'm like, I do. I do. More women need to know about these tools that I found, understand the science. That was a big, huge missing gap for me, was the science about cravings, alcohol habits. I didn't really understand that. So he said, well, let's check a URL, like let's make a .com. What do you want to call it? And I was trying, y'all, it was so funny. I was trying with everything I had to pick a name that didn't have sober or sobriety or alcohol in it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be that person that was maybe labeled or seen as like, you kind of like you were saying, Jaisy.
You're sober.
Oh, what happened?
Yeah.
You're either pregnant or you have a problem.
Yeah, right. And with my upbringing and my background, I was like, I didn't even start drinking till my young 30s in a real social, habitual, like normal way.
Right.
And so for me, it was almost an identity issue to like want to go away. But I knew women wouldn't know what I was talking about if I got too far away from the topic. So SoberSis was born with sober-minded sisters in mind. And I just started curating really the best of what I had found that worked most for me. So I wrote a series of emails. I invited some friends to read them. I started a little Facebook group with 15 people. They all kind of knew each other, so it was kind of weird. Like, hey, you're in here too.
Right.
Like, you're Jenn's friend. That's why you're here. And from there, I started an Instagram at SoberSis in March of 2018 with a picture of Topo Chico on my back patio. 1 follower, I think that was my mom. And just from there, I've seen that there's such a need for this conversation. In 2018, it started taking off. I started advertising. I hired my first employee, and we started to scale the message, really, to get it out there as much as possible. So in 2019, I started building a behind-the-scenes team to be able to create the infrastructure to now help thousands of women go through what I call the 21-day reset challenge. Because what a great place to start with 21 days. That's half of what I started with.
Yeah.
And that's how I found
That's a great way to start.
That's how I was like, 21 days, I can do that.
You just advertised a 21-day reset,
I did.
correct?
I am now an evangelist for SoberSis. It's weird because the stuff that I've learned through that process, and Jenn says all the time, once you learn, you can't unlearn it. Once you know it, you can't unknow it. And so I have this passion just for other people that were, probably in my situation, just to be curious about it and have some information and just to know. And I try not to be teachy and preachy as my Enneagram 1 wants me to be, but I just feel this need to have it accessible for people that need it.
Well, and one of the things that I saw in researching for this today, as I was looking online and paying attention, one of the things that caught my eye is on the bottom of your page is a bunch of, I think they're called mocktails. And I do a lot of parties. I don't go to any parties that offers anything like that, including the ones that I throw. I mean, we'll have water, we'll have Coke. What a cool idea. And how do you come up with something like that? Where does one find out about it? Obviously, I'm not a cis, so I'm not, I didn't see a sober man.
Sober
in there.
bruh.
Sober bro.
Sober
in there.
bros.
Sobro. We
Sobro.
call it Sobro.
Hey, we're gonna need to start that. That's great. I know. You had touched a little bit about.
Well, she needs to answer the question.
Sorry. Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize you didn't answer. I'm so sorry. Tell us about the mocktails.
That's okay. There is a huge sober, curious, sober movement going on out there. Hashtag sober for the health of it. Just people wanting more wellness, more opportunities to be present in their own life. So the good news is, we vote with our dollars, and the marketplace has heard the vote. They've heard that people are looking for alcohol-free options for a variety of reasons. And so the market has really stepped up, and it is a booming industry right now of NA beers, non-alcoholic
There's a bunch
beers.
of dry bars and stuff too going
Dry
up.
bars. It is unbelievable. I am on, like I said, Instagram, and that's where I found a lot of these companies to partner with and promote and just be a part of the movement. And it's very exciting. And these are zero-proof craft cocktails. Sometimes I kind of struggle with the word mocktail, but I use it because it's most recognizable, it's identifiable. But a lot of these drinks are they're very well thought through and very crafted. Like the taste, the structure, the labeling, everything is really upscale. And I think for a non-drinker or someone who's just taking a night off, they don't want to sit at the kids' table.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They
Or like
want
you said, water and tea.
They want a real
Yeah.
adult beverage or
I
something
don't know what
that's
parties
really
you
pretty.
get offered tea. I have to walk around with a water bottle. It's awkward.
Well, we do a lot of charity
Yeah.
parties at our house. A lot. We have one coming up here in the very near future. So
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go in and try to duplicate some of those and offer them.
Point you in some great resources
Well,
and companies that I've gotten to know.
I'm going to take you up on that.
Yeah,
Well,
for
and
sure.
think about most, traditional cocktails is just it's the base alcohol, and then everything you can do to mask it so you don't taste the alcohol.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Right.
really, it's the same thing. You're just you're creating a taste, and it doesn't have to have the terrible side effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's just so interesting, again, about how people, I feel like people just don't want to take no for an answer when you say, oh, I don't like it. Oh, what? Why? I'm like, oh, I just don't like that. I've never liked the taste of it. Oh, it's because you've never tried this drink. You have to try this. It's always the thing of and I'm like, okay, whatever. I guess
I've
I'll
been
take
guilty
this.
of that for sure.
Yeah. So thank you, Sarah.
Drinkers want someone to drink with them. That's
Yes.
the whole thing. And so it's really not you, it's me. It bothers me that you're not drinking.
Right.
Because I now don't have a drinking buddy in you. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so, but if you had a drink that looked like you were drinking, I would never know the difference and I would never say anything. It's not even about the way you act. It's just the fact that it's like, cigarette or anything else. You surround yourself by people that are doing the same activities, and then all of a sudden you have this community that you've built.
Yeah. Now
It's
what I do
weird.
sometimes is even I'll take a wine glass and I'll just put water in it.
Yeah.
And then even just the act of having a glass that looks similar to what the person has will instantly somehow make them feel more comfortable to be like, oh, okay, you're
Well,
not
there's
drinking.
a ton of parties I'll go to and just have water and lime in a regular glass, and I'll walk around. No one knows the difference. It doesn't matter. But
Yeah, and what I've found is that people ultimately really don't care what you're drinking. They care that you're making them feel comfortable, that you're having a good time. When I walk into a party, I get asked this all the time, Jen, you're not drinking. What do you say when people offer you a drink? And I always say yes. And then I tell them what I'd like instead of saying no. Because like you were saying, that's kind of like a wet blanket. I mean, I'm not
Right.
somber. I'm sober-minded. So, it's not like I'm walking in like, wonk, wonk, I can't drink, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes. What do you got? I'm just so thirsty. I've been running around all day. I'd love to start out with some water, but that buys me a little time to figure out what's there, or I just BYOB now. I'm just introducing new drinks
own.
all the time to people.
That's awesome.
Well, and tell us, because I've heard you say several times about being sober-minded. Tell us what that means, because I didn't know what that meant until I met you. So
Yeah. And I think to me, it's a whole another realm than just being sober. When you think of sober, you think of abstaining from a substance. When you think sober-minded, I want people to start thinking, this is like being present, awake, alert, aware in your own life. As a Christian, as a person of faith, one of my favorite verses that really stands out to me is 1 Peter 5:8, and he says, "Be of sober mind." He's not talking about alcohol right there. He's talking about your mindset, about being awake, alert, aware, present in your own life, so you can see what's going on, so you can see the enemy around you, so you can see the complacency, the distractions, the lures of this world. See them by being awake, alert, aware in your own life. Whether that's drinking less or not at all, I think a sober mind encompasses more than that.
That's awesome. Something that you also touched a little bit on before was the science behind it. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've learned about alcohol in being sober-minded?
Absolutely, because I just didn't realize what I was up against. I thought the cravings were just my weak willpower and kind of like dieting or other things. I just needed to, deprivation mindset, like just don't do that, live without it. You don't need that cookie, you don't need that glass of wine, just don't do it. And that was not working. And now I understand why. It's the cravings. Because alcohol in and of itself, setting it just aside, it's not so much about the person, it's really about the substance. Your brain is working just fine if you have a drink to want another one. That's the nature of the substance. And I always felt kind of like it was a moral failure. Like, oh, why do I want 2? Why do I want 3?
Right.
Okay, maybe 4. I mean, why do I keep wanting more? And it wasn't that it was that I was broken. It was that my brain was working and my pattern was broken with my desires. What I was wanting wasn't adding up. It wasn't aligning with who I really was, which was to be mindful, to be awake, alert in my own life. And I was slowly numbing out. I was checking out. And so knowing that, alcohol actually creates a thirst for itself helped me kind of grab hold of those cravings and go, oh no, you can't really get started on me if I don't give you the opportunity. And that gave me a lot of empowerment. I think being sober-minded is about being empowered and not necessarily powerless, which is a word often used in alcohol conversations. But I think being empowered to go, no, I can choose the way I think about alcohol, and I can choose what I put in my body based on the science of what it does in my body. Now that's empowering to me.
Well, and to me, that was what kind of clicked for me is knowing, I think it was the Alcohol Experiment and The Naked Mind, both Annie Grace, right? Those were huge books because it wasn't just like Jen said, just saying no. It was, well, this is why. And same thing like what I struggle with food. I don't want to just say no to sugar. I need to know what that sugar does to me to be able to say, I don't want the sugar because I know its effects, not just because I'm not supposed to. I want to talk a little bit about marketing. And I know a lot of stuff that I've read, and y'all all probably seen it, all the wine marketing to moms and the mommy juice and the whole thing. Yeah. Once I was like tuned into that, it is everywhere on cup towels and things we hang on our wall.
Even like the kitchen towels.
Yes.
Yeah.
The t-shirts at Target, there's a whole section.
Yeah. Anytime I want to get like a Mother's Day gift, it's like socks on the bottom that say, if you can see this, bring me more wine or something like that. It's like, why?
Yes. So let's talk about marketing a little bit. Have y'all noticed that?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So, as we were outfitting some things that we do, every time we would go to buy stuff, you would see glasses of wine, you would see drinks on them. They were all cute. I guess that's a word, right? That's how you use the term.
So cute. It's cute.
Yeah, but
so cute.
And Anne would fall for a lot of it because it would end up in our house in different places. So yeah, I definitely see that.
I noticed I had not necessarily a problem, but I noticed there was something up when I went to my gift bag closet, and like there was 45 different wine-sized gift bags. I'm like, I guess that's what I give most often. Probably what I get too. So we have a few minutes left, and I don't know, Jen, if you have any funny stories that you want to share or anything that you can think of for our Tales section. But
Tales from the Lockbox.
I forgot the lead in, sorry. I don't know if you have anything you want to share. If not, Bill has or Jaisy has a funny story.
Awesome. I don't know that I have that funny of a story. I did think about this because you gave me a little heads up, and it's really not that funny, but like a SoberSis story, I guess you could say, is I was in Florida. I was on the 30A Seaside area, and I was in a store, and I was talking to someone in the store, and someone else in the store heard my voice and recognized my voice just from doing videos and Instagram. And she was like, "Are you Jen? Are you SoberSis? I just signed up for your reset."
That is awesome.
In a store in Seaside, because she recognized my voice before she saw me.
That is awesome.
Did you feel like a celebrity? Is that why when you came in you had sunglasses and a hat on, you just got to avoid the paparazzi?
You know it. You know it.
Did people recognize you?
And I'm like, tell my kids, would you?
People
that I'm cool.
recognize you like all over the place?
No.
Only in Florida and only in one store.
Yeah, that specific store. My kids.
Mine was always like, "Oh, you're Sarah because I recognize you from your forehead." Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all heard Tom overly laughing. Don't laugh so loud. Okay, sorry, Jaisy.
The one that I had is actually my husband Tom's story. Kind of something funny that happened when he was a kid. So when he was like, I guess like a teenager or something like that, he's got a twin brother and he's got an older brother. So, a house full of boys. He goes into his parents' bathroom and he decides to like use his parents' tweezers or like scissors or something like that. He said that he was, the way that he said it was, and I quote, "I was, cutting some hair from my ears and some other places."
Oh no.
That's what he said. So instead of cleaning up after himself, he used it in his parents'. He's in his teenager, like 16, 17, something like that.
95.
Okay.
So he, instead of cleaning up after himself, he leaves the hair there. And so his dad comes home. He's like, "What the heck is all this hair here?" So he goes and he says, "Okay, our boys, I want you here." Boom. So they all come down to that's a common saying of dad is, "Our boys, boom, boom." Like it's always a boom.
That means they all need together.
That means now. So they all get in the living room and he's like, "Okay, there's all this hair here. Who did it?" And so they're all like, "Wasn't me." Tom's like, wasn't me. So dad's like, "Okay, well, I actually have a friend who works at a local lab. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a DNA test on this, unless if someone comes and tells me who it is." So he leaves the room, and his older brother, who's a lot bigger than him, was like, "All right, it wasn't me. So whoever it is here, if I find out that it's one of you, I'm gonna beat you up." So Tom's like, "All right, guys, it wasn't me. But because I don't want any of you guys to get in trouble, I'm going to go ahead and take the fall on this one. Y'all can thank me later. It's totally cool."
Good move.
Yeah. And so it wasn't until maybe a few years ago that he finally told his brothers, like, "Hey guys, remember that time with the hair thing? That was actually me."
That is all. My brother,
Cute. Dad didn't actually do the DNA test.
are you middle or youngest?
Middle.
You're middle. So my middle brother, this must be a middle brother thing. This is how he would apologize. "I don't think it was me, but if it was me, I'm really sorry."
There are still things that I did as a kid that I haven't apologized for.
Too late now.
Like when I was learning how to
Need to
cook.
atone for these things.
Yeah, well, I was the oldest of 7, so I was learning how to cook, and I burnt chocolate, and I wasn't supposed to be cooking. So Mom was coming home. My mom weighed about 340 pounds on a good day, and she had
So you used up all her chocolate?
It's a bad thing.
she had 2 bags of groceries in her hands. We had one of those farm type kitchens. I had sprayed Pledge in the air. So all the Pledge fell down on the tiles. She walked in, that's back in the early 70s when women were always wearing hose and dresses and heels. And she slipped and went underneath the sink, slid all the way and got stuck. To this day, she doesn't know because she said she's going to kill whoever does it.
Does she listen to this podcast?
I hope not. And if she does, I do know I can run faster.
Mama Stedham?
Yeah.
Wow.
You're going to die.
I better level up. What do you think?
Yes. So, of course, our little segment called Level Up. And today we have, is that Bill?
Yeah.
It is me.
Level us up.
Yeah. So, I've got a quote from Bill Clinton that I really, really like.
Wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
I did not have sexual relations.
Yeah. So
Against that woman.
here we go. We're supposed to level up with this, but here's my quote from Bill Clinton. "If you live long enough, you're going to make mistakes. But if you learn from them, you're going to be a better person. It's not how you handle adversity, it's how you handle adversity, not how it affects you. The main thing is never quit. Never quit, never quit." And I think it's important for all of us, regardless of what we do, whether we make a mistake in our business world, whether we make a mistake as a kid and we cut our hair and leave it on the bathroom counter, or spray Pledge up in the air. And anyways, that's going to be a bad one because I guess you will hear this. Yeah. But the key is handle the adversity, never quit. And I think we've got to remember that in everything that we do.
Yeah, I think Bill Clinton did handle a lot of his adversities with sexual relations. pretty
Okay.
wet. So, I mean.
Oh, we're going to give Jen a quick minute. So you've got a minute, Jen, if you want to kind of promote what you're doing and where they can find you and all that good stuff.
Okay, awesome. 1 minute. Here we go.
No pressure.
You can find me on Instagram. I'm pretty active there, as Sarah knows. We play around on Instagram all the time. But I share a lot of health tips, wellness tips, sobriety,
Mocktail recipes.
all the things. My dog. So follow me on Instagram at SoberSis. And then I also have a free guide that women, sorry, Bill. that women can download that can kind of just help for a night. What if you are going to a wedding or you just want to take a weekend off or a night off? Where to begin? So if you go to SoberSis.com, you can download my free guide. And from there, you can really get on my email list. And then I would love to tell you more about the 21-day reset and the other programs that follow that really help create a lifestyle of being sober-minded.
So just so you don't think I'm weird, I've already downloaded the guide. I went there, I got all of it, and you actually sent it to me. So I'll
It's
read
legit.
it.
We do have a picture and address, so if you need
Yeah.
a profile
Yes,
picture to
that's
be able
very
to
true.
sneak you into the network.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for listening. And Jen, thank you for what you're doing. And I thank you personally as well, because I am directly affected by all the great things you've done. Thank you all for listening. Be sure to follow us and follow Jen. Go to SoberSis. And at that, we're out. PB and Jaisy, we out.
Yeah.
Just had a chat, talk this and that with PB and Jaisy.